You feel like you're on the path to divorce. What do you need to know if you own a home? So, for those of you who don't know, I actually have a law degree. And when I was in law school, I did a lot of family law related courses. And then, of course, I have spent over 20 plus years in the mortgage space. And then I have also gone through divorce myself. And so, with all that has come a lot of information and a lot of knowledge on not only how divorce affects you, but also how divorce affects if you own a home and what is going to happen here. And so I wanted to make a video a little bit to just talk to you about how this is going to affect you, what is going to potentially happen, what some of your options are. I have an entire website called divorcelending.net where I do also provide some very divorce specific resources. So you can definitely check those out. But let's talk about this. So number one, if you do own a home, that is typically one of the largest wealth pieces of a marital couple's estate. So it's usually one of their bigger ticket things, which is why there's so much confusion, frustration. They want to understand how it works. What am I going to be getting into? And I'm going to be real here. As great as your family law attorney is, they don't necessarily understand how the mortgage side works. And so I highly, highly recommend you talk to a mortgage expert in congruence with talking to your divorce attorney, your family law attorney, because we can help make sure that everything is being done to make your life as simple as possible. But let's talk about the options you have if you're getting divorced and you own a home, and what options are there. So number one, you can sell the house. So you can say, hey, we're just going to go ahead and sell it. We're going to split the equity down the middle, or one person's taking all the equity and one person's not, whatever the case may be, whatever you guys agree to. And you're literally just going to do a pure sale. And then you guys are going to start again. Maybe you're each going to be purchasing your own residence. Maybe one of you or both of you want to rent for a minute, whatever that looks like. Right? It is very, very important to note that you typically do not want to purchase another property until your divorce is actually finalized, because there is some weird stuff that can happen if you do it prior to. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking about getting divorced and you're thinking, well, I'm just going to buy a house before my divorce is final, you can complicate things. Okay. And we have some very specific strategies that we can help you walk through if this is your situation, so that we basically are closing on your house like practically right when that ink is signing, okay? So just know that there is some option there, but please, please don't go buying a house while you're still married to somebody else before that ink is dry, okay? Because it does make some complications, especially in community property states like Texas, which is where I am. Okay, number two, your next option is going to be one party can keep the residence. Okay, so one party can keep the residence. And this is also kind of like option three, but I'm going to make some differentiation between keeping the residence in option two and keeping the residence in option three. Okay, so option two is keeping the residence. And when you keep the residence, in this particular situation, we're going to say that we're leaving the mortgage loan alone. So we are not refinancing it out of somebody's name. We're leaving it alone. If there is any money that is needed to be collected to pay off the other party, we're doing it via other sources. So we are paying them off through retirement accounts, liquid assets. Maybe there's another property that's owned already, right? Maybe you guys own an investment property and one of the spouses is taking that property over. And so they're getting that house, you're getting this house. Okay, perfect. There's lots of options here, but the important thing to note is that if both parties were on the mortgage and on that financing piece, that one of them is not coming off. You're just leaving them on that. And that is a choice. Okay. Just so we're clear, the divorce decree can state that that other party is entirely financially responsible for this mortgage loan. You don't have to remove that party if that's not what you want to do, but they have to be in agreement with that. Okay. So that's sort of your option two. Option three is probably one of the more common options, and I'll explain in a second why. And that is one party is going to keep the property. Likely they're going to have to give a portion of the equity to the other party. Okay. And they also are going to be required to get that party off and the loan only in their name.
Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message from our sponsors.
Welcome to Financial Mastery Simplified, your go-to podcast for making smart money decisions. We break down complex financial topics into easy-to-understand advice you can use every day. Our experts cover everything from budgeting and saving to investing and retirement planning. We give you the tools to take control of your money and build the future you want. With Financial Mastery Simplified, you'll feel informed and empowered to make the best choices for your financial health. Tune in to Financial Mastery Simplified on your favorite podcast platform. Start your journey to financial confidence today.
Visit us at fms.tips and fms.college for more information.
Welcome to House U, where we believe in the power of education. At House U, we're more than just a brand. We're your partner in home ownership, dedicated to educating, equipping, and empowering you every step of the way. Education is at the heart of everything we do. We offer comprehensive resources designed to make home ownership simple and accessible for all. From understanding mortgage options to mastering home maintenance, House U provides the knowledge you need to make informed decisions with confidence. We host workshops and seminars, bringing together experts and community members to share insights and build a stronger, more informed community. Because when you're educated, you're empowered. House U, home ownership made simple for all. Visit our website or contact us today to start your journey with House U. Empower yourself with knowledge and embrace the joy of home ownership.
Thanks for your patience. Now, back to our conversation.
Now, let me tell you why this is one of the more common options. It's common for a few reasons. It's common because, number one, a lot of times we don't want to disrupt the children in the relationship worse than we've already disrupted them, right? They're going through it. They are seeing mom and dad, or mom and mom, dad and dad breaking up. They are experiencing a lot of turmoil and a lot of life changes. And a lot of parents don't want them to then have to leave their home and find a new place to live as well. Sometimes life doesn't work that way. It's too hard for somebody to financially afford that property on their own, but that does happen a fair bit, right? So option 2 and option 3 are typically some of the more common options. Now, option 3, the reason it's also pretty common is because usually the other spouse does not want their name financially tied to that departing residence, the property they're leaving. They don't want that. They don't want it to be tied. And so they want to be able to be taken off of that at a bare minimum. And then oftentimes they want to be able to have the money, the cash, the equity that they are supposed to receive. And one of the only ways that that spouse can get them that money is to either take a lot of accounts and drain them from a liquid perspective, right? Or take out, things like that. And a lot of people don't want to do that, or go ahead and pull it out of the house. When this happens, if option 3 is what happens, okay, then what has to happen is a few things. Number one, it's super, super, super important that the attorney mark down how much equity is required out of it. And in Texas, there's even a few steps farther, and I'm not going to go too deep into that. I actually educate attorneys about that, but that this happens, okay? And then number 2, that you find a mortgage expert who understands how to do this, especially in states where the home equity laws are very, very weird, which Texas most definitely have this, okay? Because the challenge is that a lot of attorneys don't do the paperwork quite correctly. And so then we have to sort of navigate this sort of difficult piece. And so this is why I encouraged you earlier to go ahead and talk to a mortgage expert early, because we can help give you advice along this path and on how these kind of things can work, okay? And there's some consideration that you need to think about when you're going through this process. For instance, let's say that your interest rate is super freaking low and you now have to refinance to be able to get money out and to be able to get it out of their name. Well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to be paying the market rate. So if that market rate is 2 times, 3 times what your current interest rate is, then yes, that does mean that you're going to do that. You also are going to have to qualify. You're going to have to qualify by yourself to be able to do that loan. For some people, that's not a problem. They make plenty of money and being able to qualify is not an issue. But wouldn't it be nice to have a conversation with a mortgage expert ahead of time so you could try to navigate some of those numbers and make sure that this is going to work out in the way that you hoped when you're looking to potentially keep this property. Also, you need to understand how long it's potentially going to take for this process. For some people, boom, the ink is dry and we can go ahead and start the refinance process. Bada bing, bada boom. It's done, 30 days or less, no big deal. For some people, it's going to take longer. And you're saying to you, well, why would it take longer? Well, there could be potentially some financial hiccups that we have to overcome. For instance, if you want to use child support or alimony to be able to qualify, to be able to buy out that person, to be able to redo this loan as a refinance, guess what? You have to be collecting them for a certain amount of time. If you haven't collected them for a certain amount of time, we cannot use them as an income source because we have to prove that not only did you get it, but you have to be receiving it. And so sometimes you're going to need a little bit longer than you'd think to be able to get that loan out of the other individual's name. And so a lot of times what people just don't think about or realize is this is almost always, buying a house is almost always one of the largest financial purchases you make. It is almost always one of the largest assets that people hold. And when it comes to an unfortunate position like divorce, and trust me when I say to you, it is both congratulations and I'm sorry. It's the best way I can describe it, because it's just hard. Divorce is just very, very hard. But when it comes to understanding your numbers and understanding money and understanding financials, it is important to understand first what the different choices and options are, right? And then number two, understanding that you should get a little bit of a jump and have some conversations up front so that we can properly advise you of what some of those choices might be so that you are making well-informed decisions, right? That you are making a decision out of a place of trust and not out of fear or guilt or shame or any of these other kind of horrible emotions that are going to bubble up when you're dealing with divorce. And so I will tell you about kind of like secret option 4, because it is possible, but it's rare. I'm going to be honest. And that is assumption. And so what is assumption? So if you have a very specific loan type and you can check with your loan servicer, this is something you could do. You can give them a call and ask if you have an assumable loan. What this would allow for is for you to use some qualifications. So there is some qualifications, but you take your existing loan and you take it exactly at the place that it's at. So the interest rate, the loan term, the payment, all of the things, okay? And you basically take it from being in yours and somebody else's name or somebody else's name, and you shift it into only your name or just your name without the other person. Okay. And that is what happens. That's called an assumption. Okay. It can be a lengthy process. The servicer is not required to approve it. A lot of loan types are not assumable. Some of the major ones like conventional, jumbo, these are not assumable loans. A fair bit of your government loans are assumable. So VA, FHA, USDA. Sometimes they aren't, but a lot of them are. And so that is another potential possible option. So hopefully this gave you some kind of indication into the different ways that this is potentially going to go down, some potential options that you have, some kind of thoughts in your brain that you need to kind of be milling around if you are looking to possibly split from your significant other and what that is going to look like. Regardless, we're here to support you. So if you've got questions, if you want to book a call and just pick our brain a little bit or whatever, right? We would be happy to. We specialize in doing a fair bit of refinance for divorce situations or purchase as you're coming out of that divorce situation. We want your transition to be as smooth as humanly possible. And so hopefully this has been helpful for you. I will make more videos about divorce and divorce-centric topics here in the coming months. But I hope that this was helpful.